Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me, as always, are Eric Devin and Philippe Bargil. What a final weekend we had in Ligue 1 with plenty of twists and turns and plenty of drama right until the very end. We will take a look back at that and the announced France squad for the Euro 2016 before dusting off our suit and ties for the GFFN Awards. But before any of that, here's a look at the headlines for this week. Ligue 1 finished its season with a bang on Saturday, with the battle for relegation being the source of most of the drama. Reims won at home 4-1 against Lyon, who deployed a rotated squad, but the result wasn't enough for the Champagne club. This was the case as Toulouse also won their trip to Angers, ending in a 3-2 victory in favour of the visitors, in a dramatic result which saw the club fall behind twice, only to win 10 minutes from time thanks to Jan Bodega's first goal of his career. Gazlek Ajaccio, who had proved adept at battling back in adverse circumstances throughout the season, had also been in the conversation, but their loss at Lorient 1-0 saw the Corsican club finish 19th and relegated. Champions Paris Saint-Germain exited in fine style ahead of the upcoming Coupe de France final, thrashing Nantes 4-0 as Zlatan Ibrahimovic became the club's record goal scorer in a season, his brace taking him on to an incredible 38 goals in 31 matches in his final appearance in league, at least for the club. Lille earned a gritty win away to Saint-Etienne 1-0, Eder's penalty being enough to see Les Deux move past their hosts into 5th place. European football assured for next season for them, while Les Verts will have to hope for a PSG win at the weekend to mean they will go into the Europa League. The final Champions League spot was also in play as Monaco needed a win against Montpellier to assure a 3rd place finish ahead of hard-charging Nice. An early goal from Ivan Caballero and a Fabinho penalty were enough to secure the result, while a brace from Alassane Player was enough to see Les Agnons capture 4th ahead of Lille in a 3-2 win at Guingamp. 3 other matches had little at stake. Troyes returned to Ligue 1, ending with a 1-1 draw at home to a second-string Marseille side ahead of the cup final. Elsewhere, a brace from Francois Camano saw Bastia win 2-1 at Rennes, and Caen successfully withstood Bordeaux's attack and Andy Delors penalty enough to secure a 1-0 win. In Ligue 2, there was drama aplenty as Metz lost to Lens, saw Les Grignats finish on level points with Le Havre, and with the same goal difference, promotion eventually being decided by on goals scored, a heartbreaking end to Bob Bradley's first season in France. In the relegation battle, Evian clung on to a slim hope of surpassing Sochaux, but eventually the Savoy club suffered their 2nd consecutive relegation, joining Créteil and Paris FC in the National next season. And that's your news, but remember, for all your latest headlines, head on over to our website at www.getfootballnewsfrance.com and follow us on Twitter at GFFN. We start with a look at the final match day of the season and what an end to the season it was. Monaco were never really troubled as they qualified for the Champions League, but at the bottom, Reims pulled off an unlikely 4-1 win against Lyon, only to hear that Toulouse had come from behind at Angers to win 3-2 and secure their Ligue 1 status for next season. Philippe, it was a pretty entertaining end to what has been a good season.
Yeah, you know what? It was great. You had Reims beating Monaco. We were talking about this last week. Reims beating Lyon 4-1, a very comprehensive score. If you haven't seen the 3rd goal by Attila Thuram, it really is a contender for goal of the season, shot from the left wing of the pitch. Some kind of lob volley that, actually lobs Anthony Lopez. So great football on display by Reims. And so Reims winning meant that Toulouse had to win at Angers to stay up. And what drama! Angers go 1-0 up. Toulouse have a penalty. They just say, you know what, we're not going to score it because we like the dramas. So Braithwaite puts his puts a spot kick over the bar. Then Toulouse equalise, Angers score a second, 20 minutes to go. As it stands, Gazélec are not even winning at Lorient, so they're out of the equation. But then you've got a quite a lucky deflected volley by Breastway, I thought, at the time. More luck than anything else. But the final free kick with Bodiguet was tremendous, and the scenes afterwards were just absolutely amazing. And one big bravo to Pascal Duprat. I'm the first to admit I thought that Toulouse, given their run-in, could never ever stay up. I mean, you could argue they stayed up because Reims made a crazy decision to sack their manager. Probably was not. Of course, it's easy to say it now, but Reims did finish on 39 points. That's a lot of points. But Duprat still believed, and it's really a thanks to him because they were going nowhere under Arribagé, and I honestly didn't think he could do it, but he's done it, and it's was a great achievement of this season. It really and truly is.
Eric, let's focus on Toulouse's win to start off with. It had plenty of twists and turns. I mean, Martin Braithwaite missed that penalty with Angers 1 up. They go and level the scores and then concede almost straight away after that. And if you listen back to our chat last week on Saturday where we went through all the Ligue 1 live, there was plenty of chances for Braithwaite. It seemed like Toulouse were piling on all the pressure, and finally it told. What a terrific way to end the season for them and to stay up that way.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Duprat, and I think we need to give him credit, not only for the motivation he's gave to his team. Toulouse even got a mention on Football Weekly this morning or this evening. I'm not sure what time it's released in the UK, but they had a thing that Duprat had played the players a video of their wives and children crying. And saying, you have to win this for us. So it's some interesting motivational tactics there from the former Evian manager. But again, throughout his time as manager, he's given a chance to youngsters like Bodiguet, like I said, Diop, like Alban Lafont, who obviously made his debut before Duprat had arrived. But again, trusting these young players when maybe more veteran players might have been the more obvious answer, I think has really been crucial to Toulouse's improved form. I think look at the substitutions he's made as well. I mean, Bodiguet scores the winner. Ninkov comes on and makes the assist for Braithwaite. Trejo is also a substitute, and he provides the assist for Ben Yedder's winner. So again, he's not only shown faith in perhaps not the most obvious set of players, but he's also shown very good in-game management to bring on players and to make an impact in a positive way. And again, this wasn't a match where, as in the case of Lyon, I'm ashamed to say that they seemed to lay down a little bit in terms of the intensity with which they played and the personnel that Genesio had selected. There was no such sense of that from Angers. This was very much a first-choice team. For a club that was, looking to end the season on a very strong season on a positive note in front of their home fans. So Angers were really up for it, but credit to Duprat and credit to Toulouse as a team for the way they've come together over the last 6 weeks or so to maintain their Ligue 1 status.
Yeah, you mentioned that video there, Eric, of Pascal Duprat. I do urge anyone listening to go and search it out, because even if you don't speak French, you can tell the passion he's speaking just before he shows the video of the players' families and children telling them that they need to win this game, and the emotion that it brought out of the players, and it finally seemed to work in the end for them. But let's go to Reims at the moment, who almost made me look very smart, but unfortunately Toulouse did prove me wrong, Philip, but they gave it a really good go of it, although maybe it was a little bit too much too late, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's still quite admirable. Like I said, we discussed this and didn't really believe that Reims could beat a Lyon side that had just beaten Monaco 4-0. But then again, Lyon had second pretty much in the bag. I mean, they did have it in the bag in terms of goal difference, but still a very good performance. But such to me, it's such a waste. We mustn't take anything away from Duprat, but if it wasn't for Reims, shall we say, kicking back after a few games, because they were not that bad. They were mid-table during the winter, but not you felt they could still play a decent game, and the way they got sucked into this. So credit to Duprat and all that, but it is my opinion they shouldn't have gotten sucked into this at this stage of the season, and well, actually they did, and the management, the board, I think to all of us, we all agreed on that last week, made a panic decision, and it didn't pay off. I mean, still great to see they are going to they smashed Lyon 4-1, which is very good, but I just feel that Reims is a side was a board they still want to be in Ligue 1, and maybe they'll find life difficult back in the second tier. This is what I'm a bit worried about. I don't see them adjusting particularly well to going back to Ligue 2, playing on Friday evenings, earning much less money from the TV deals and all that. So it's a bit worrying if you ask me, if you're a Reims fan.
Yeah, and just to quickly mention the Duprat video, we're on the website later on tomorrow. There will be an English translation with subtitles on there, so you can see exactly what he's saying. But back to Reims, Eric, you mentioned that Lyon played a little bit of a weaker side and gave them a real chance, but the real positive, at least from them, is they took it with both hands. It was just, like we say, maybe this should have been sewn up a couple of weeks ago, really, for Reims.
Yeah, again, the sacking of Guégan for Guillon, I think is just I'm still a little frustrated and confused at that. It does seem that he got his team selection right on in this particular example. That's the team that he selected is the team that I would have selected were I the manager, and I think it's the right team. It's the strongest 11. For Reims, and there's no faffing about with experimenting with players who haven't played in months, and he played a strong team and he got the result he wanted, and you just have to think that had he been doing this all along, how much better Reims would have done. Another 2 points at some point in the last 6 weeks, and this team would have been safe not to lose. And again, transfers pending. Unless the squad gets gutted in the summer, there's a great chance that Reims can come back up. Based on who they'll be facing in Ligue 2 next season. But yeah, and the chance was there to stay up this season, and easily. And I think the club have to really hold up their hands and take the blame for that. The appointment of Guillon has been nothing short of a disaster, and there's really no excuse for it. The squad that Reims have should not be relegated, and they just shouldn't. There's too much attacking talent. There's too many solid defensive players. It's just really disappointing to see, especially the way the team started the season. They were in third, fourth place as late as week 7, week 8. They've just, again, I understand that they cratered to some degree under Guégan, but him having moved to the 3-5-2 after the winter window and the arrival of Al-Qatari, it seemed like they were onto something, but the club just panicked and it backfired. So hopefully they can build and come back up, and we can see some of these fantastic younger players, like Grosjean Kie, Nico de Préville. Again, he's not that young, but point taken. Back in the league in 18 months' time.
Yeah, they were third in end of September, which is pretty good. Which is a pretty good start. Just goes to show what a waste it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can remember at the start of the season when we were mentioning with Caen, who also made that terrific start, and briefly with Angers as well, where they started so well. But like you mentioned there, Eric, that the real hope for them is the likes of Grosjean Kie, and while he's not been shown as much this season, I think Jordan Sibacho has got a big future in front of him as well. And those kind of players, if they can keep hold of them, I think someone like Depreville might be caught up by someone in League One. You would think at least, but those attacking players, hopefully, if they can keep them, they can make a good fist of League 2 next season. But we'll just quickly talk about one team that was really a non-factor, unfortunately, in that final day of a relegation battle, and that was Gazlec Ajaccio. They never really looked like beating a Lorient team that have been struggling in recent weeks. Philip, is it? At the same time, though, we all expected Gazlec to really be relegated at the start of the season, but it's a really testament to how well they've done this season that they even stood a chance of staying up on the final day.
Yes, exactly. We were actually all expecting Gazlec to have twice season. So Trois are the worst, by the way, Trois are the worst ever Ligue 1 side in history, with 18 points from 38 games, which is they've surpassed Avignon, so another record broken. But we really did expect Gazlec to be absolutely hapless from start to from August till, well, today. Or was it, or rather Saturday? But they weren't, and they were out of the relegation zone for a very long time, very hard to beat. Playing this diamond-shaped formation, which was not that easy to cut around down the wings, and it proved to be a bit more. Maybe a season a bit too long for Gazlec Ajaccio. You could see that the first half of the season was absolutely terrific. I mean, they were 12s at the turn of the year, which is massive. But this is where it all went wrong. Just maybe just not equipped for that second half of the season, because only 12 points in the remaining 19 games. So that would be the second half of the season. It's just not good enough. And usually, it depends on the season, but usually when you finish below 40 points, you go down, which is exactly what is happening this season, with Toulouse achieving 40 points and the other three a bit less than that. But still, great to see such a tiny club go up and make a real fight of it. So that's pretty good. I'm actually less worried for the likes of Gazlec and Troyes because they didn't change the budget structure. They stayed, shall we say, a Ligue 2 club in Ligue 1. I don't expect Gazlec to have any sorts of problems, because maybe the ambition is not to go straight back up right now. The ambition would be probably not to to lose the derbies against ACA, so AC Ajaccio, but still quite successful season given their modest standards, and would love to see them back as soon as possible. It's a great story for French football.
Yeah, and just quickly to bookend the conversation, really, Eric, Thierry Lory and his men should be proud of the things they've done this season, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I think that, the club brought in the right kind of player that's a veteran player, and maybe is on borrowed time in terms of being in Liga, in Liga, and they really pulled together and got the best out of a lot of these veteran players, and they did really well, and pull off some very famous results, to be quite frank, and the season as a whole and that little run they went on, being unbeaten for 10 or 11 matches or whatever it was in November and December was really inspirational, and I think really got a lot of people to sit up and take notice of the club that perhaps more casual observers of French football had never even heard of, to say nothing of the way that the team operated as a whole. I think it was a fantastic season, and you might have a little bit of frustration for the way that they couldn't get a result at Lorient. I mean, Lorient have not been that strong defensively this season, but then again, neither have Gazlec been that impressive going forward. So I think the two met, and it was just the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, Lorient weren't gonna lay down. They played well defensively, and that was the season. and then, again, going forward, some questions obviously remain about this club. With a lot of the roster being a little bit on the older side, but if they can keep hold of Laurie, who I think has done a fantastic job both over the past few years, then they've got every chance of coming back up. I don't think that Ligue 2 presents itself with a lot of strong teams next season. I think that Lens, Le Havre, Reims coming down all look good, but there's no reason that should these veteran players be willing to continue to believe in Laurie and his philosophy, that Gazlec shouldn't be right there to continue to create a push to return to Ligue 1.
Yeah, and we say farewell to Gazlec and Reims, who will join Ligue 2 next season, and we'll look forward to Dijon, Metz, and what's the
Nancy.
third club? Yeah, Nancy. There we go. Nancy Lorry. We'll look forward to seeing them next season. But we will move on.
And commiserations to Le Havre, who lost on goals scored. That must hurt.
Yeah,
Really?
that was a really excellent final day in Ligue 2 as well. But shame for them. They'll be back next season, and I'm sure they'll move on to better things. But we'll move on from Ligue 1 now and back to the international scene, as France manager Didier Deschamps announced his 23-man squad along with 7 reserves last week for the European Championships, and there were very few surprises in his announcement. Now we know who will be going officially, Philip. Is there anyone who you felt didn't deserve a place in the Les Bleus squad?
Well, didn't deserve. This is more a case of maybe someone deserving it more. I think the 23 he picked are very much fine players, and nobody is a bad player in that type of squad. I heard something about Stéphane Ruffier. I don't know if you guys heard it, or maybe it was something in the tabloids that didn't get all my attention at the time. It was some sort of bust-up between Stéphane Ruffier and Didier Deschamps. Ruffier saying, if I'm going, I want to be playing. So he allegedly said that to Deschamps. Deschamps obviously said no, that's not true. Ruffier obviously said no, that's not true. But as it turns out, you have Benoît Costil, who is going as third goalkeeper, who in my opinion is not as good as Ruffier. And then you got Alphonse Areola, another fine goalkeeper playing for Villarreal. I don't know. I believe that he did say those things, and that he would rather just not bother with the national team if he's not going to play. It happened to Ashley Cole for the World Cup, and I think it's fair enough. I mean, it's if he is a football player after all, and got to respect his decision. I probably would have taken Areola over Costil, if in my from just in terms of age. When it comes to the defenders, I got Dinu wrong. I didn't think he'd go. I think she would go. It was a bit of a surprise to me. Midfielder got all the 6. There was no surprise. Gignac over Lacazette. I would have taken Lacazette, rather Gignac. Not seeing him, obviously, not from the Mexican league. But I can understand the choice. So there are a bit of players I would have taken, and that Deschamps didn't. But overall, it's not not the end of the world. I actually expected him not to take Ben Arfa, for the reason that France play 4-3-3, not a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 with a diamond-shaped midfield, and that Koeman, I believe, is more effective and. Shall I say, impacts a kind of guy who will really embrace the experience and do very, very well indeed. So it's a good squad. Deschamps did get criticised though for not taking Ben Arfa, but that's about it really.
Eric, let's talk about some of the slightly contentious decisions that Deschamps made. Let's start with in the defence and the decision to take someone like Jérémy Mathieu, who doesn't really get a lot of playing time at Barcelona.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah. Eric, what do you think to that decision?
I think in the article that I wrote on the site, I think that the theme throughout this squad is that Deschamps sees an opportunity to win this term. He's going to go with players he knows, players he trusts. And that is Jeremy Mathieu, because as fantastic of a season as the likes of Samuel Umtiti and Laurent Perrin have had in central defense, the fact of the matter is that they don't have any international caps. Granted, Jeremy Mathieu only has, I believe, 5, but the fact of the matter is he's a player who's been included in more squads, and he's someone who Deschamps knows what he's getting. He also has the added ability to play left back, although I would counter that Umtiti could do a job there too, were he to be called upon. But the fact of the matter is that has been and will continue to be Deschamps' byline, that he wants players he knows what he's going to get. I mean, for me, I would argue that Mangala would be the one to drop out of central defense rather than Mathieu, given that Mathieu does have the ability to play left back as well. I think that Mangala appeared for me to a little bit have turned a corner during the 2 legs against PSG in the Champions League, but just had a really disastrous end to the league season. Manchester City slipping into 4th and almost being eliminated. Not being eliminated. Almost not qualifying for the Champions League again, and due to a really disastrous end to the season. I think that he's still a player who has great potential, but at 24, 25 years old, he needs to start living up to the price tag that City paid for Porto, from Porto for him. And I think that that Perrin or Umtiti would have been a better choice than like Joaquim Mangala.
And looking at very quickly at the 7 reserves that's been called up by Didier Deschamps, there has been a couple of surprises there as well, including Adrien Rabiot and Dribbble Sidibe from Lille, Philip. Obviously, injuries could carry in. Do you think if they are called upon, someone like Rabiot or Sidibe will be good enough for the French squad?
Yeah, I think Rabiot has had a better season than, for instance, Yohan Cabaye or Moussa Sissoko, who play in the Premiership. So no, I'm not particularly worried about Rabiot. Just that, I hope it's not that too much important a game, because his disciplinary record, and sometimes he makes some useless fouls, and he could come short. I just don't think he has the enough international experience yet. I think Russia 2018 would be great for him, but I would. This is why I understand why Deschamps takes Cabaye and Sissoko over a guy like Rabiot, because he still needs to play a bit of friendlies, to play a bit of games of this magnitude. It would be good for him to be on the bench or something like that. But
so, I want to take issue with one thing there, Phil, quickly, if I may. Yeah. We talk about Rabiot as having a bad defensive record. He had 4 yellow cards this year, 2 of which were in one match in the league.
I think it was in Champions League as well. I think it's when it's some certain games where he just does some useless fouls, and maybe he didn't get red cards at every single game. But I just thought that he has improved. But in terms of international football, I think it makes more sense really to take him over. To take Cabaye or Sissoko over Rabiot at this moment in time, based on what frailties he has shown, even though he has improved. Of that I have no doubt. But then again, playing for PSG, you've got most of the time you're playing against sides who are playing for not losing too much. So I think he's very close to being the finished article. No question about it. But I would rather have Sissoko or Cabaye play in. Shall we say we play England in the quarterfinal? I'd rather have Cabaye on the pitch than Rabiot.
I mean, Sissoko. This is the thing. I understand what Deschamps is doing in picking an experienced squad, but the fact of the matter is, if you're picking a bunch of 26 and 27-year-olds, Sissoko is 26, he'll be 27 in the summer. What? He's not going to play a significant role in this team in going forward. So why not start to blood in, these younger players like a Rabiot, I mean, again, Corentin Tolisso is injured, but he'd be another, I think, fine example.
But
Why not?
who would you leave? Not home because the tournament is at home, but who would you leave out of the 23? Who would Rabiot take the place of? It's quite a tough call actually because you're talking about taking the players he trusts. So it's quite difficult to say, okay, I wouldn't take for example N'Golo Kante or Lassana Diawara, which is pretty harsh if you don't take those because they've had outstanding seasons. I think it's more down to being unlucky than.
Well, this is the thing. I agree with that. And you have Conte, one of Conte or Diarra at the base of midfield. You have Matuidi on the left, and then you have Pogba on the right of the 4-3-3. Payet could function in one of those roles, to the left or the right, and the same thing for Cabaye. So what functions does Sissoko really give you? He's a fantastic player with the ball at his feet.
Versatility. Yeah, that's of.
Well, but what I'm saying.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I think he offers, given the season he's had. But yeah.
But I mean, don't Cabaye, Kante, and Diarra offer you the same thing in terms of positional versatility?
No, I don't think so because Sissoko can really play as a winger, and he did at the last World Cup. While Kante, Diarra, can't. I mean, they're not wingers. I think Sissoko, why he gets in is because he's versatile and because he was at the World Cup.
But
that's it.
You could say the same thing about any of France's forwards. Griezmann can play all across the front line, so can Martial. Coman can play on both wings. Payet, again, not a striker, but can play wide on either flank. Were to be so called upon. I think you already have that versatility in spades, and that Sissoko's spot should have gone to one of Rabiot or Ben Arfa.
The one thing I will
I'm not particularly. I don't disagree with. It's just that. I get what Deschamps is doing, and you do too. But that's maybe the luck of getting in a squad. I mean, I know a lot of 1998 players won the World Cup, and there's Aimé Jacquet back in the day had to leave outstanding players at home. I mean, this usually happens, but sometimes with squad cohesion, it's even more important to have that type of player, not particularly good, but just some real very good for team cohesion. This is, for the record, I think why Italy won the World Cup in 2006 is that all the players, they stuck together. They were a great team. Probably weren't the best. No bias, of course.
We'll just very bookend that conversation of saying that I think credit to Sissoko at the weekend. I thought he was superb in what was essentially a non-game anyway. My reason that I would think that Deschamps is keeping him in the squad, he's probably the most similar to someone like Paul Pogba. If Pogba becomes injured, Sissoko is probably the closest style-wise to replacing the type of player he is compared to anyone else to stay in that similar sort of role. But that would be I would agree that I think Hatem Ben Arfa is a better player and would work better, but that's what I think the reasoning would be behind it. But just to very quickly finish this conversation, Eric, is there anyone who can be very disappointed that they've missed out completely? Someone like Gael Clichy or maybe Maxime Gomelance?
As in not even making the provisional squad?
Yeah.
Given Rouffier's issues, I would say you might make an argument for one of Mathieu Debuchy or Sebastian Corchia. I think that Debuchy's bad luck with injuries and lack of playing time at Arsenal really undid him, because I think that he's shown since his return from injury in the last 6 weeks at Bordeaux that he still has what it takes to be a right back of a quality, of a caliber that's of the international level. I think Corchia as well had a really fine season with Lille. He continues to improve. He's someone who's yet to receive his first cap for the international, for the full squad, but I think that's coming in the near future, given the age of France's right backs at this point in time.
Right, and we look forward to the Euros that will start in just under a month now, so it slowly creeps up on you. But we'll look forward. It
must have been a tough decision to make for Deschamps. Who'd you put in the provisional squad, CDB or Corchia? because they're both fine players. But I think yes, CDB does offer more going forward. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they've had similar season, very solid, and especially when Antonetti took the managerial position. So Korsha can be indeed very hard done by, shall we say?
Well, this is the thing.
Very happy.
Just briefly as Dakota, I mean, right now, France have such an amazing array of attacking talent, great center backs coming through, but right back is a huge issue for me.
Yeah.
They need to have Korsha in this squad because where else are France going to get a right back from? I mean, there's some intriguing young players, maybe the likes of a Steven Moreira at Rennes, but he's so far from being a fixture for the full squad that there could really be a lack. Debuchy will be 33 at the next World Cup. So what are France looking at in terms of surrounding this incredible midfield and attacking talent with going into the next World Cup? Deschamps has just been a little bit too short-sighted, if you ask me, in terms of the players that he's including in this team. He needs to have some players that are going to be important in 2, 4, 6 years down the line included in this team.
I agree 100%.
And ironically, tune in to our website in the next couple of days, as we do have an exclusive interview with Sebastian Corchier on the site. So keep your eyes peeled for that one as well. That will be very interesting. Hopefully he has some thoughts on missing out on that Les Bleus squad. But we move on now because it's time for the GFFN Awards as voted by you and partially by all our writers here at Get French Football News. Now, before we start, we want to thank the overwhelming amount of you that voted on our website and through Twitter. We had over 10,000 responses, much more than we could have hoped for, and for that, big thank you from all of us here. So we will start with the GFFN League Manager of the Year, and the nominees are Paris Saint-Germain's Laurent Blanc, Leonardo Jardim of AS Monaco, Angers boss Stéphane Moulin, Thierry Lory of Gazlec Ajaccio, and OGC Nice manager Claude Puel. The winner is Claude Puel. So it's the congratulations to the Nice boss, because Philip, they've had a really spectacular season under his leadership, haven't they?
Yeah, it's completely deserved for Puel. He's the type of manager that doesn't want to be in the limelight, and it just shows that he's extremely good at nurturing young players and putting them on the pitch. We've seen it with Cosiello. I thought he was great to give debuts to all those players. It's amazing. It's amazing how many of them have made their actual career debut this season. How many opportunity he's been giving to players like Buscagli, Honora, Paulin Puel, which I think is his son. Correa da Fonseca, there's even a guy called Ranieri who played twice. It really is a testament to how he gives youth its chance and does it extremely well. The fact that Ben Arfa was there, I think, maybe put a shade on the whole thing, because Nice had a tremendous season even without Ben Arfa, and Puel will be remembered as the one who gives youth its chance, and doesn't have a fixed system. He did play for Sochaux with Lille for a very, very long time, with which he almost won the league, finished second. There he's playing with this sort of new fashion of playing 4-4-2 with a diamond-shaped midfield. It works tremendously well. Valère Germain is a totally different player than he is at Monaco. He's been excellent. Just to deserve the award for Puel.
And I totally agree with that. Just to mention, I've just been told that it's close to 100,000 votes for this award. So thank you, even bigger. Thank you for everyone who voted on this award. That's an absolutely crazy number, and we're very, very happy to have that sort of interaction with the GFFN nation, as it were. But Eric, Claude Puel's contract's up this summer. Nice must be desperate to get him signed and ready for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being in qualification for the Champions League for the final day of the season and bringing along these young players, bringing along these players that aren't exactly young. I'm thinking the likes of maybe of a Mendy, of a Seri, who are in their mid-20s and are established players, but perhaps didn't have the reputation that their talents that are now on display under Puel have been shown this season. I think that with the potential that Nice have between this exciting array of players, with their new stadium, with their youth academy, which has continued to turn out good players. I'm thinking in particular like Vincent Paziello, Johan Cardinal, that it's been just a really impressive season for the club, and that I think Puel, who exited Lyon on, to be honest, a pretty poor note. I think that there needs to be quite a bit of credit given to the manager for rehabilitating not only his reputation but placing the club in a fantastic position going forward in terms of the young and developing talent they have there.
Yeah, it really is, and he brought a really entertaining style to Nice. They were really, really good to watch at times this season, and should he stay on, they can hopefully maybe even continue the great work that they've been doing there. But if he does end up leaving, they'll not forget him for any time soon. Now, for the Liga goalkeeper of the year, and our nominees in this category are Lyon stopper Anthony Lopez, the man between the sticks for PSG, Kevin Trapp, Marseille goalkeeper Steve Mandanda, Nice's Johan Cardinal, and Lille's Nigerian keeper Vincent Enyama. And the winner in this one, for all you that voted, is Steve Mandanda. Congratulations to the French international, who has arguably been Marseille's best player this season, Eric, hasn't he?
Absolutely. I think that the defense for Marseille this season's actually been fairly decent, and most of that you've got to credit to Mandanda. I mean, Nicolas Nkulu is coming back from a serious injury. He's had to deal with a multitude of partners. Jorge Orlando, Karim Rekic, Stefan Sparagna. It's just been really an iffy defense at times, but credit to Mandanda for getting the organization right, for commanding the box, for being the big, powerful, just incredible keeper that he's shown during his best times. I mean, we think back to Marseille advancing to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, to winning the league. Mandanda was at the heart of all that, and again, he was behind a veteran defense at that time, so that allowed him the chance to grow and develop as a keeper. But I think now he's really come into his own and has become the unquestioned leader of this team, even with veteran players ahead of him, the likes of Alassane Diarra and Rolando and Nkulu themselves as well. Mandanda is what makes this team tick defensively, and honestly, given how poor Marseille were at home and how poor they were in terms of their scoring record, I honestly think, given the number of points that the club finished on, Mandanda was, to be quite frank, the difference between Marseille being relegated and staying up. His heroics, I mean, yeah, okay, they're 9 points off safety, but a win here and a win there turns into a draw, and Marseille could have potentially really been sweating it this season. But instead, they're in a cup final, and well, yes, 13th isn't exactly the placement that a club of their stature wants. If they can spring a surprise against PSG this weekend, I think a lot will be forgiven, and Mandanda can, his future is yet to be decided, potentially exit the club on a very high note. A tremendous season from him, especially after the sort of unevenness he endured in the past 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's a good debate to be had. Who's had the best season, Mandanda or Diarra? It's a bit harsh.
Well, thinking, like Eric mentioned, then the amount of points he might have saved. I'm trying to dread to think if they didn't have Mandanda between the sticks, but that might be the situation soon with him coming near to the end of his contract and looking like he's going to leave in the summer, Philip. Hopefully the cup final will be the ideal send-off for him, but he's had a terrific career, hasn't he, at Marseille?
Yeah, he's always been regarded. It was Eric Gerrit, who manager for Marseille a couple of years back. It was before Bielsa. He called him his jewel. le bijou he used to call him. He always have this. You always feel a bit bad for him, given that he doesn't get to play that much for France, but he really is an extremely talented shot stopper. And this season This season it wasn't even a contest. There was no one who could touch him. Even Anthony Lopez. Even Enyama, who was quite good as well. Trapp made his mistakes, and it was just he was just head and shoulders the best goalkeeper in the league.
Yeah, no, credit to him, and if that is the last we see of him in League, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch him in the last couple of years, especially.
Good time for PSG.
Yeah, so he might stick around yet, especially if Kevin Trapp continues to drop crosses on every occasion. But we'll wait and see. Our next category is for the worst player in League this season, and the nominees for the award that no one really wants to win are Troyes forward Corentin Jean, Marseille defender Karim Rekic, Lyon maestro Matteo Valbuena, Marseille loanee Lucas Silva, and Troyes centre-back Mathieu Saunier. And the unfortunate winner of that award is Lucas Silva, Philip. It hasn't been exactly the best of seasons for the man on loan from Real Madrid, has it?
No, for such a young guy, I mean, I was quite impressed with him. He played in the Champions League quarterfinal against Schalke last season, I think it was, and was quite promising. And you would have thought he would have given a bit more, but it is quite hard. I mean, the context of the club is quite hard, and I think you need to be mentally extremely strong to respond to a massive game at the Velodrome, which is more or less all the time. It was always a challenge for him, and you must say he has been extremely poor and not helping really Diawara in the centre of midfield. So on the one hand you had Diawara being very, very good, and on the other hand you had Lucas Silva being very, very bad. Still think, in another season he probably would have given more confidence growing into such a role. But unfortunately for the lad, the award is deserved.
Eric, it seemed like a season that went from bad to worse to dreadful at times for poor Lucas Silva, but it's probably the award's deserved for him in the end, isn't it?
I've got mixed feelings on this. I think that we talk about some of these players, Jean, Rekic, and Silva in particular. They're still young, developing players, and it's much like I think some of the criticism I've seen of Memphis Depay signing for Manchester United, to give perhaps our England-based listeners a little bit of an analogy, is that it may take a while for some of these players to settle in and to really come good. Not everybody can be, say for example, a Dimitri Payet and just come out of the blocks all guns blazing and be an incredibly influential and successful player. I do think though that given Silva's behavior, trying to force a move to Anderlecht, for example, in the winter window, I think that he should be taken to task for that. I think that you need to start showing a little bit more to be a success at Real Madrid than Silva's shown, both on a personal level and in a competitive level. But again, for me, I would personally have picked Valbuena. I think that given his off-field issues aside, has been a real disappointment for Lyon this season. I think that he had a real chance to be a natural replacement for Fekir when Fekir went down, and sort of failed to take the team on his shoulders, which is a little bit of a disappointment given his vast experience over his career. But that being said, I do understand why our listeners and our readers have voted for Silva. If you were to say, Marseille are going to get a young, promising Brazilian from Real Madrid on loan, I think that would certainly excite me were I a Marseille fan. And to have the player perform in such a way after being heralded in that manner, I think will surely have left a bitter taste in a lot of fans' mouths, and I can see why the voting went the way it did.
I think it's harsh on Valbuena still. I mean, he hasn't been good, but worst player of the season is quite a stretch. Maybe when you take everything into account, given his talent and how he should have probably done better. To me, the other players deserve to be more in that list than Valbuena.
Well, it's worse versus expectations, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I see
how
what
are
you
we
mean.
how are we defining this on an individual level? I think that anybody who voted for that award is probably thinking about it with their own unique perspective. And
Mm.
you know, for me, my perspective is here's Valbuena, a player with loads of league experience, loads of international experience, Champions League experience. You know, being a real flop. I mean, yeah, again, yes, he was injured. Yes, he had this sex tape thing hanging over him, and it's been a disappointment. But uh, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, he was brought in to be, you know, a veteran influence on this team heading into Europe. A lot of these younger players had never competed in the group stages of the Champions League, and Valbuena could be sort of a, you know, an on-pitch leader along the likes of Maxime Gonalon for the attacking players, and he failed to produce in that way. But again, you know, I understand that, you know, if we're going strictly on pitch performance, I think, you know, apropos of age or context, I think Silva probably does deserve the award,
Mm.
all things considered.
Yeah, and to take a management analogy, it's not usually one mistake that creates the opportunity. It's several mistakes piled into one, and one bad performance, another bad performance, then something off the field like demanding moves elsewhere doesn't favour you, and it snowballs from there really. But sorry for Lucas Silva, unfortunately, he's the recipient of that award. But on to our next category, and it's more positive at least, and it's League as Young Player of the Year, and your contenders are Nice midfielder Vincent Cosiello, Marseille's main man this season Michy Batshuayi, Rennes winger Ousmane Dembele, Lyon youngster Rachid Ghazal, and Paris Saint-Germain midfielder Adrien Rabiot. And the winner for this award, as voted by you, it was very close, this one we will say, and it's Ousmane Dembele. What a rise for the young man who's just turned 19, apologies, yesterday, and will be off to Borussia Dortmund in the summer. How good has his year been this year, Philip?
It is extremely exciting. Very sad actually to see him go so soon. I would have thought that he would have stayed maybe 2-3 seasons at Rennes. I'm of the opinion maybe he should have stayed a bit more for experience, but he is going at a club where he is going to be very well treated as a youngster, and a club that has a track record of developing youth potential. So that's very good for him. I mean, I'm actually quite glad that he's going to Borussia Dortmund and not say Bayern Munich. It's and to think of that guy with in the same side as Aubameyang with Kagawa and Mkhitaryan putting passes together, it's quite scary. I mean, Borussia Dortmund are going to be a very tough opposition next season in the Champions League. Dembele is a real going back on Dembele. He's an absolute class act. When it comes to dribbling, taking the ball from afar, playing down the rings, going centrally, going wide, shots on goals. The passing is not too bad either. I mean, for his age, really is. You just understand why Dortmund have bought him, really. To me, to me, it's a deserved award, even though it was close against Cotiello.
Eric, he was a real shining light this season, wasn't he, for Rennes? He really lit up the league at times.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, he probably became the most talked about young player in European football, and that's, you know, you're seeing that, you know, a piece on the Guardian getting 300 plus comments for a player that, you know, made his first team debut this year in November, I believe, and that's just really tremendous to see how, you know, meteoric his rise has been and what his potential really is. I think that he's yet to really find a position. Is he a winger? Is he a central player? You know, is he, you know, perhaps sort of a second striker? His real position, I think, needs to be figured out. But the fact that, you know, people, including myself, were seeing him as a potential outside shot for the French squad this summer, you know, having not heard of him, you know, 5 or 6 months ago, I think is is just incredibly impressive. But yeah, I mean, there's just a really impressive group of young players throughout the league, and I think Dembele, given how much of an impact he had on Rennes' season and their push for Europe, which ultimately fell short, was really impressive, and he's fully deserving of the award.
Yeah, and I just want to say that I was lucky enough to catch his debut. Actually, it was against Bordeaux back in November, and he was really good in that game. He didn't really show exactly everything he was in that single game, but there was a glimpse of something there. And then we saw in the following weeks just how wonderful of a young footballer he is. Great with the ball at his feet, willing to attack players at will and keep the ball in close control. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful young player, and joining a club like Borussia Dortmund that already has players like you've mentioned, Philippe of Mkhitaryan and the likes, and Aubameyang, and even thinking of the young players they've got there like Pulisic, who's another attacking player that's still only in his teens. That's still going to be a very exciting club for him to be involved with in the future, and he certainly has a bright future within the game, even though unfortunately it won't be in front of our league eyes anymore. But a wonderfully well-deserved award for the youngster.
No, I mean he can always come back. I mean, no, not a problem.
There's open arms for that invitation,
Yeah.
isn't there, I think. I don't blame you. He's been absolutely wonderful, and good luck to him in Dortmund. Hopefully he can help push them towards knocking Bayern Munich off that perch, but we'll wait and see on that one. It's time for the big individual award of the night now, and it's the Ligue 1 Player of the Year, and here are your nominees. There's PSG creative outlet Angel Di Maria, Jean-Michel Seri of OGC Nice, Lille winger Sofiane Boufal, Paris Saint-Germain captain Thiago Silva, and the PSG legend himself, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And unsurprisingly, the winner of this award is Zlatan Ibrahimovic himself. It was a spectacular final season, really, at times for the Swede. He's been a real force again, Philip. Surely a worthy winner.
Yeah, 38 goals tells its own story. I'm not going to be all praise for Zlatan, because he was being brought to win the Champions League. Not played particularly well against Manchester City in the first leg, but he did the business like he, as usual. And I mean, now that it's over, because it is over, Zlatan is leaving Ligue 1. Or at least he's leaving PSG, but I don't believe any other side can afford his wages. I do believe he is heading your way, though, Nathan. I've heard some very, very promising reports. So this the rumour to Manchester United, but no, it's still absolutely sensational. Very, very difficult to defend against. And he's had much less. He's definitely had a better season than last season, where just like most of the PSG squad, he was maybe being a bit complacent. I thought this season he had a very accomplished season. Definitely his best PSG season, like most players since they've been there since the Qatari buyout.
Eric, Zlatan's had a terrific 4 years at PSG, where he's really finally established himself as a top of the pile kind of player. How would you sum up his time in Liga?
I think that we need to. I've got a piece on this coming out tomorrow, I believe, for the site. I think that we need to set aside PSG's European failures, if you can call them failures, considering what they were 5 years ago. Making the quarterfinals of the Champions League in so many years as they have done, I think, is an incredible achievement. But what it is Ibrahimovic brought a real sparkle and a real locus of attention to French football. Lyon and Marseille had been struggling a little bit in that time due to financial issues. Lyon were really hamstrung by the signing of Johan Gourcuff and how that didn't work out, and they couldn't push on in the Champions League. And the season before, PSG had brought in some nice players, the likes of Kevin Gamero, Milan Bisevac, Diego Lugano. But Blaise Matuidi, he's worked out incredibly well. But there wasn't a real focus about the club that bringing in the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic that made a real statement of intent for what PSG wanted to do both in France and in the Champions League. and his impact can't be understated. Again, he's had his issues with Ligue 1, with officials, with the quality of opposition, but the fact of the matter is the attention that he's given to this league, to football in France, is just immense. I mean, you know, even though he's at his age not on the playing level of the likes of a Neymar, Suarez, Messi, Ronaldo, Gareth Bale, he's still an incredible talent, and his audacity both on and off the pitch just makes him such a magnetic personality. And we as those who pay attention to French football, should be count ourselves incredibly lucky to have had him playing in Paris for 4 seasons. And it's just been a wonderful ride, and he's just been an incredible player. And this award is as well deserved as it ever has been. Setting that PSG record, 38 goals in 31 matches. It's just a staggering amount of scoring. Again, there's a big difference between the budgets of other clubs, but Ligue 1 is a defensive league. That's an incredible amount of goals. So well done to Zlatan. Congratulations, and good luck in whatever his next adventure is.
Yeah, it's hard to deny that Zlatan's been absolutely terrific at Paris Saint-Germain, and especially this season as well. Didn't start off necessarily the best, and we have criticised him at times, but he really came through in the second half and the last 2/3, you would say, of the season. And he's really been sensational for the last 4 years. I've enjoyed watching him ever since I first saw him at Inter about 10 years ago now, and he's such a magnetic footballer. I mean, there's been mentions already on news outlets that the likes of Carlo Ancelotti and Gregory Van der Wiel even confirmed that he really brought the squad together when he came to the club. So it shows you just why he feels that he's a legend of that club, because he feels that he brought that final piece that they needed to push on with the Qataris at the helm. And terrific for him. And if he does come Manchester way, I'll be welcoming him with open arms, as I always would have done for the big Swede. But congrats to him, and a sensational campaign and a sensational few years in Liga. But we finish this evening with the Liga Team of the Year, as voted by you, the audience. In goal, we have Steve Mandanda of Lorient, and the defence is comprised of Lille's Sebastian Corchia, PSG captain Thiago Silva, Lyon centre-back Samuel Umtiti, and Nice's full-back Ricardo Pereira. In midfield, we have two at the base with Marseille's Lassana Diarra and PSG's Blaise Matuidi. On the wings, we have PSG's Angel Di Maria and Nice magician Hatem Ben Arfa. And up front, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is partnered by Lyon forward Alexandre Lacazette. It's a wonderful team, Eric, and plenty of players that have really excelled this season.
Yeah, I think that we have some perhaps outside of the box picks. I think that Serge Aurier, given his first half of the season, seemed to be a lock for this. But I think with his attitude issues that Corchia displayed consistency over the course of the season, that's well deserved. Silva and Mtiti, the same thing. You have someone who's been one of the world's best center backs for the past 6 or 7 years, alongside someone who could be one of the world's best center backs for the next 6 or 7 years. Ricardo Pereira has come out of nowhere, really. Porto Loni, and has just really been impressive. And Lassana Diarra, again, out of the wilderness, job done. Blaise Matuidi, I struggle a little bit with injury and being worn down a little bit towards the end of the season, but still all energy, all action, a class player. Were he 4 or 5 years younger, PSG could probably sell him for 75 million. It's just really a tremendous player, and has been Mr. Dependable throughout his career. Di Maria has been, in and out. I think for me, I might have gone with Sofiane Boufal on that one, but given the number of assists he's racked up, it's kind of hard to leave him out. Hatem Ben Arfa, again, no question on that. The vines and gifs and YouTube clips that he's generated during his time at Nice have been really remarkable. Just really has pulled his socks up and burnished his reputation. And if he does get this move to Barcelona that's been mooted, or to some other club that's bigger on the European stage, it's well deserved for a player who's finally seems to be coming good on his promise so long after leaving Lyon. And Zlatan and Lacazette, no issues there. Zlatan, as I just eulogized, has been tremendous, and Lacazette's really put Lyon on his shoulders over the last 2 or 3 months, and to lead this team back to the Champions League. So I think, I have very little to argue with in terms of the squad. I think our listeners, our readers, our voters did a great job in really recognizing some players that might not have been the obvious choices. I mean, maybe you'd go with Maxwell left back, for example, because he's a name you recognize and you've seen him play. But this really shows to me that Get French Football News' audience is an intelligent and one, and has made some really considered decisions with the 11 that they picked. So well done, and thank you everybody for voting.
Philip, it's difficult to argue with many on that list, isn't it? I mean, there's been some really sensational performances out of those sort of players. The Hatem Ben Arfa's been terrific, and Blaise Matuidi, again, a measure of consistency as he's been for the last few seasons.
Yeah, I'm especially pleased of the level of interest it takes of our listeners, because it really is a side that shows that people actually watch not only PSG but watch Ligue 1. There was a UNFP Trophies last week, and it was basically the whole PSG team with Mandanda, Ben Arfa, and Diawara. That was basically it. Here you sense that people are actually watching how Samuel Umtiti is doing, how Lacazette is doing, not just PSG. Of course, they are the sensible ones. I mean, you couldn't really say Mandanda is not going to get in, because he was by far the best goalkeeper. Something to be said about Kosher against Ricardo Pereira, who's been excellent. To me, it's a really good squad that shows that our readers and listeners know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I just want to say a big thank you for everyone that voted again, because like you've both already mentioned, this team exactly shows that everyone who reads our content and takes part in our Twitter polls and stuff, they all watch Liga and don't conform to the likes of the UNFFP trophies that just simply put a PSG team and a couple more players in. It shows the great depth in Liga, really, and the excellence that can be found in teams like Nice and Lille and Lyon, and not just Marseille, even though they struggled, other than just PSG, which is great to see, and a real credit to everyone who voted. Thank you very much for taking part. But that's all we have for this week's show. My thanks to Eric and Philip, and to everyone listening at home this evening. Join us next week for a Ligue 1 review of the season. A bientôt, and goodbye.